cyber threat landscape has changed, and you're starting to see more attacks on the critical third parties that are being used by financial institutions to deliver their services. Welcome, everyone, to the DTCC Insights podcast. I'm Jason Harrell, Managing Director of Operational and Technology Risk and Head of External Engagement. Joining me today are two of my colleagues from DTCC, Yonesy Núñez, Chief Information Security Officer, and our Chief Cybersecurity Officer, Bob Moncini.
There's been movement, from our financial authorities in third-party risk management. Mm-hmm. What are you seeing in this space, Jason?
Well, there's been an overwhelming amount of activity in the third-party and vendor risk management space. And I think there's really three drivers for that. One is the integration of third-party and vendors into the delivery of financial products and services so that they can have the access to the emerging technology, such as generative AI or cloud technologies. We have the increased and steady focus on operational resilience. So operational resilience is focused on how firms can quickly recover and restore operations in the face of an operational event. So that includes operational events at third parties. And then the cyber threat landscape has changed, and you're starting to see more attacks on the critical third parties that are being used by financial institutions to deliver their services. So you're seeing an increased focus there. There's been a number of regulatory authorities who are looking at third-party and vendor risk management. You had the Financial Stability Board that had their toolkit. You have the Basel Committee on Banking Supervision, who's recently put out a proposal for their principles. You have the guidance from the U.S. interagencies, which is the Federal Reserve Board, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, all looking at this. And then you also have, the European Union and European Commission, who have been putting out rules that govern third-party risk. So again, that all has been happening within the last 5 years. So when you think about how many regulatory texts and guidances that have been a part of that, you understand the amount of effort that the industry and the authorities have put into this space.
Oh, I agree. And Yonesy, what recommendations do you have for professionals to stay ahead of the regulatory landscape?
It's a really good question, Bob, and I'd like to echo some of the sentiments that Jason brought forth, and that is that always remember that compliance does not equal security, but security does equal compliance. So how are you challenging your cybersecurity program? What are you doing to understand the threat landscape as it changes? We talk a lot about how our attack surface continues to increase. I always ask a question: what is the probability that there are going to be less devices on the internet tomorrow?
The answer is
zero.
The
answer is zero. And since the answer is zero, and we have more and more devices connected, the attackers are leveraging those because they're understanding how we utilize those devices that are on the internet and in our attack surface, and then they're circumventing, whether it's our controls, whether it's our processes, whether it's a vulnerability. There are multiple ways of circumventing this attack surface. Being able to manage the attack surface and being able to stay abreast of the latest techniques, tools, and practices that the attackers are doing, and testing those against your controls is what's going to make us better at remaining not compliant, but secure. And you practice security each and every day, and you test your environment each and every day. And as things change, evolve with the changing landscape.
But I think it gets back to what we say: what has gotten us here now is not going to get us where we need to be in the future, right? So we have to always ensure that we continue to understand the landscape, modernize our technologies, modernize our approaches think differently than 2 years ago, right? That's going to continually change. Again, the pace of change. So where we are now is not where we need to be a year from now.
Yeah, as I was actually thinking about, some of the areas in third-party risk, I know from the EU has come out with the Digital Operational Resilience Act. And for those who don't understand what that is, the Digital Operational Resilience Act, or DORA, really set forward minimum control requirements in cyber resilience so that there be a standard, a basic standard across the EU member states. And so part of that, part of the act was also inclusive of third-party and vendor risk management. And so there's been a lot of focus in the European community as well as those servicing the community for financial services and how they manage cyber resilience and cyber risk inclusive of third parties.